The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
The Uganda National Museum, a place where unforgettable memories are created. Traditions are found and a connection to our Pearl is reinforced. It is not only a testimony to the history of our nation, but also impacts knowledge of cultural and natural heritage to the present and future generations for their enjoyment. Through a variety of activities and exhibitions, we gather to discover our traditions and create new ones. The Uganda Museum is our country's cultural icon that makes it accessible for the next generations to come together as our story unfolds and represents the interplay of our country's past and present. It is in our history, but also in how it has evolved to embrace optical satisfaction and new influences. Our identity as a country is not only a moment in time, but also a journey of where we have been, where we are, and where we are going. We invite you to experience the authentic heritage, rich history of Uganda. Welcome to the Uganda National Museum.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Okyali ku Mighty Drive tuba tuyingidde ekitundu kyaffe ekyokubiri tutambulira ddala paka essaawa 4 kati gwe munnange atulabira ku online otulabira ku Facebook YouTube kozesa comment section teekamu ekibuuzo kyo oba endowoozayo ku miramwa gye tutambuliddeko olunaku lwaleero tujja kusobola okulaba nga ate naawe tujjayo ekibuuzo kyo okufuna okwanukulwa omugenyi waffe ajja kubanga akuddamu bulungi nnyo wetugendedde mu kuwummulamuko waliwo ngambye mbuuliza Maseruka Sadat, are they willing and ready okubanga bafronting single candidate nga bwatugamba nti opposition parties are ready to take power, are they ready to front a single candidate oba bajja kubanga ate batuleetera nti ANT ina presidential candidate, FDC ya nominating zedda omukulu power presidential candidate, tujja kulaba ne PFF singa baba bakkiriza nga baba wadde political party nga nabo batuleetedde presidential candidate, kakati ne NUP tuyinayo presidential candidate omukulu Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. Kati singa just in case, are you ready okutuleetera single presidential candidate nga ali running against Mr. President His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni?
Okuleta single presidential candidate, it is a bit far-fetched.
Why?
Kuba Bannauganda bo bantu bagezi nnyo. Bamanyi nti amongst all the alternatives bo bamanyi abeera single opposition candidate. Era a decision temusobola gikolera mu boardroom. Temusobola nuga nti ono gwe tuloyise. Mwe buli awulira nti asobola okukiikirira Bannauganda
alete manifesto yo ku table.
Alete manifesto yo ku table naye ajja kiraba towards nga amaze nominating nti Bannauganda balina ebakoze balina ebasonze. N'ekirala tumanye nti unity teri in only kuleeta kibiina
nti mulese candidate omu
oba kuleeta candidate omu. Unity ebero olwokubeera achieved nga mulina a well coordinated campaign nga buli political party oba nga buli presidential candidate aina engeri gya supporting a candidate omulala in the opposition.
But how can that be possible? Kubanga mwena muyina ideologies za njawulo.
Yes.
Lwaki kisoboka kityo okubanga mujja kubeera ne campaign message yemu?
The campaign message si yemu. Campaign message ebira yankyuka. Nti oli ajja kugamba nti wetu obanga nze mulaba sinze ngwandide ne munonderani. Because the issue is having change in this country does not mean that kuba okugenda mu kalukano nga we nakuwadde background tekisinziira kyokka kuleeta bukulembeze oba abakulembeze bapya. Nakyo kituyambako n'okumobilizing okutambula ng'onoonyaki obuwagizi n'okukumaakuma bamembers bo kuba ebbanga lyo nabo baba bakulembeseza obakola ki okubatuukako. Akati ekibiina we kitagenda mu kalulu okutuukiriza eyo nayo kadino pira kijja kuba kiri phased off. N'ekirala ekibiina ekyo kijja kubeera ne BMP anagenda obakumaakuma nga mukulembeze waabwe oba president. However ekibiina kisobola okuleeta buli kibiina nekireeta naye kugaba Bannayuganda bwe batuula mu nju zaabwe bagenda ne bakola consensus nti ono yaani
yagenda osobola
ono yagenda okusobola era gwe baba bagenda okukola ki
okuwa
kyobola bakaluka e Uganda aka presidential election kabeera ka 2 horse race bantu bameka babiri naye tekabangako nga kalimu abantu babiri bokka abeesimbyewo.
Nanti awo tugamba nti bali abasatu abana abataano obululu bwabwe obubaweebwa buleeterwe buweebwa ono.
Nanti kyegamba nti coordination esobola okubeera mu campaign messages, voter protection, also name supporting the other candidates. For instance nti nyizo okubanga nzize joint opposition candidate naye nga sina capacity ekuma kalulu mu Uganda yonna. But ba candidates abalala abesimbe ku president ne bankolera omulimu ogwo ne basharinga DR forms zaabwe ne ba protecting akalunzi gye stali. That coordination nayo eyambako kulabanga ebera joint effort. So tebeera nti solely because tuba tugambye nti tugenda simbawo omuntu omu kuba oyizo simbawo omuntu omu nga byonna tali all encompassing wano tasobola bituukiriza mu kalulu nga yes message agirina abawagizi abalina naye nga protecting the vote yeetaaga te support ne coordination ya yebibiina ebirala. So unity tugirowoozeeko in a broader perspective and eyo unity nsuubira eri possible ey'okugamba nti buli political party galvanizing support. However we coordinate on issues of mutual interest, which is change.
Has there been any instance where opposition parties in Uganda have united?
few political parties have worked together, but there has never been a joint presidential candidate.
Okay. Nga tumaliriza ensonga y'ebyokulonda oba okweteekerateekera okulonda kwa 2026. Njawamaliza n'ekibuuzo olowooza akalulu kasobola okuleetawo enkyukakyuka mu Uganda?
Enkyukakyuka mu Uganda enakuleetebwa kalulu webanga ejja kubeera ya muggondo okuwa Bannayuganda kye bayita ekitiibwa n'okubanga constitution ebeera respected. Yes, akalulu kasobola okuleeta changes. Kuba kirabiddwa nnyo in all various countries. And especially wano ku lukalu lwa Africa. Nti akalulu egambia kajjayo dictator kalulu. So kalulu kakyusiza obukulembeze Malawi, kakyusiza obukulembeze in Zambia, kakyusiza obukulembeze in Kenya. So nebo ogenda in all other countries. Yes, wabeerawo okunyigirizibwa. However, ultimately nti amaanyi g'abantu ne wiru y'abantu emala ne overpowering abo balemedde mu buyinza. So akalulu is the only way okuchanginga government nebanga ewa respect abagironze era ngegenda kukolera abantu kubanga emanyi eri ku contract ina social contract n'abantu.
Ngenda kubanga omulamwa ogwo ngutambuddeko ekimala ngenda guwumuza tubeere nga ate tutunuulira omulamwa gwaffe ogw'ekitundu kyaffe ekyokubiri, chances of Ugandans against parliament over the UPDF amendment bill. Kakati olunaku olwokubiri munnange ebbago lino lyatebuliringibwa mu parliament. Era nga Bannayuganda abamu bayinza okuba nga tebabigoberera, naye ennaku zino Bannayuganda bali awake to what is transpiring in their country. Baba bigoberera biba bigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga. Amu ne bagamba ate kisoboka ate biki ekyo nga bakiwadde ate bakitambuza nnyo, kubanga twawulira Madam Speaker Anita Among agamba nti ebbago lino lirina okuba nga litambuzibwa era limalirizibwe liyisibwe mu lutuula luno olwa parliament nga terunnagwa. Kakati ekibuuzo kiri nti Bannayuganda biki bye balina okuba nga beeraliikirira singa ebbago lino liyisibwa?
Ekisooka ebbago tulina okuliwa background nti the UPDF amendment bill ejja etya okuba nti kakati efuuse topic nti Bannayuganda abatali b'amagye abatalina kakwate ku magye baali batandise okuba nga batwalibwa mu kkooti y'amagye ne bawozesebwa mu kkooti y'amagye. Bannayuganda abo ne beekubira enduulu mu kkooti ya Ssemateeka Constitutional Court. Kkooti n'esalawo nti tewali kawaayiro kakkiriza oba akawaayiro akakkiriza Bannayuganda abatakkirizangako kubeera mu magye okuteekebwa mu kkooti y'amagye kiba kimenya Ssemateeka. Era ne kkooti ensukkulumu nekkiriziganya n'ekyo. Naye olw'okuba nti kkooti eno mu kubeerawo kwayo ebadde eyambako impunity nti we bakutwala mu kkooti y'amagye procedure zaayo zibadde endala okusinga ku kkooti zino ez'abantu aba bulijjo. Nga mu kkooti ziri basobola okukuvunaana omusango ne bagukusalira essaawa eyo era n'otandikira okusaavinga ekibonerezo. Naye nga mu kkooti zino ez'abantu ba bulijjo tu-emphasizinga kye bayita due process. One is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Kakati eringa the moment you are arraigned, chances are very high of a higher conviction and also serving a longer sentence. Kkooti ya Ssemateeka ensukkulumu n'ekisazaamu. Etteeka lyakomyewo. Mukomawo ng'era lyagala kati kuluna ate ne ligaziya nnyo. Nga liga nti Munnayuganda ne bw'obanga wafumbirwa w'amagye okola n'ab'amagye nga toli w'amagye naawe etteeka tujja kuvunaana nga w'amagye. Kakati awo ne kibanga ate kijungulula ne kkooti kye yasalawo nti civilian talina kutwalibwa n'ekirala
talina mu kkooti y'amagye
talina kutwalibwa mu kkooti n'ekirala Supreme Court yali very clear nti kkooti y'amagye okuteekebwawo world over eri okudisciplininga b'amagye. It is a disciplinary unit nti erina ku emphasizing na ku enforcing discipline si ku emphasizing oba ku penalizing on issues of the law. Kakati ate lino etteeka ne amendment ene ereetebwa ebawa obuyinza naawo kuvunaana mu mateeka gonna aga Uganda.
Kirigolizing nga kooti.
Eyagala egifuule kooti nga kooti sendala ze tubadde tuyina. Naye a specialized court ebeera nga ina specific rules neeba nga ina kubeera specialized. Yes, tuyina industrial court. Eyo court ekola ku nsonga za labor oba z'abakozi employment. Tuyina tax appeals tribunal eyo ekola ku nsonga za misolo zidduka. Nede kitegeeza nti ate ntutwaleyo ensonga zoli eyabbye gundi. Kitegeeza ofudde kooti eza bulijjo redundant. Kati neno specialized court erina kubanga emphasizing ku discipline. Bannamagye beefuga batya, bannamagye babeera batya nga bali mu forces zaabwe ng'ate tebanyigiriza muntu wa bulijjo kubanga ye yali spirit bwe baleetera etteeka eryo. Kaakati Munnayuganda kyalina okumanya nti ate bagaziyiza nti ne baagala kuba terinayita ne baagala okwewa obuyinza okuba nti bakuvunaana mu tteeka era UPDF Act ne mu mateeka gonna amalala aga Uganda. Kitegeeza nti ne bomenye etteeka lya traffic basobola okutwala mu kooti martial because bagamba and any other written law.
So, what were the recommendations of the Supreme Court? Kwata nsukulu mutayagamba nti ekomezebwewo legalizing bwe bajiwe it's jurisdiction byeyino kola.
Kote nsukulu yo bosoma judgment eyo according to my interpretation. Ya sealing fate eya court martial teina ku trying any civilian.
Omukulu atolejeno yabadde achika
okujjako civilian oyeka mu nsonga zino ssatu.
Yes.
Ali in conspiracy oba azizza oba aba yetabye oba aidings na betting yetabye wamu ne bannamagye okumitinga ki omusango n'ekirala ne baga nti yadde ekyo kisobola okubeerawo. Naye kooti martial engeri gyeteekebwamu n'abalamuzi abagibeeramu tebali qualified ku trying ani civilian oba omuntu yenna kasaba nga ali human being. Kitegeeza ne munnamagye ali ki a human being. So a court erondebwa high command abakulembeze ba court abakulira high command tebana bwetengeredde kusalawo nsonga. Kakati oli ovunaanibwa omusango katugambe gwa treason.
Yes.
Nga high command ekuvunaana yeronda omulamuzi agenda okuvunaana. Nga maje mwenyini mugenda okuva abagenda okunoonyereza. Nga maje mwenyini mugenda okuva abagenda okola ki okuvunaana. Kati where is the right to fair hearing? N'ekirala the qualification ne bagamba nti ekintu kyonna ekibeera nga kiyitibwa kooti abalamuzi baakyo balina okuba nga balondeddwa Judicial Service Commission. Kakati ate amendment egamba nti bajja kubeera appointed, abalamuzi bajja kubeera appointed by the High Command but in consultation
with the Judicial
Service Commission. That is contrary
to what the
recommendations to the law. A judge must be appointed by the Judicial Service Commission and just approved by the President. So kati era bagezaako kola nti kiri kye babagambye nti impartiality because luli bali bakulonda nga bagadde
balonda bulonzi kati General Freeman Mugabe yagenda okujitula mu
kati basazeewo bagala ate baleete nti mulonde mukole ebyammwe fate tumale tukole ekintu bijungululire eno. Nti mu approving
nti bagenda kulonda bebuuzeeko bwebuuza Judicial Commission babagambe
Judicial Service Commission baweereza list bo balondemu which is contrary to the law because if somebody qualifies to be a judge under the Judicial Service Commission even n'amateeka weegali abaleetaaga subject only appointment by the President. Kati lineteeka nalyo actually limenya semateeka lino libagala okuleeta nti teri meeting a test ya impartiality ya separation of powers nti court zino kubeera separated from the executive. the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs erimu executive ate eronda abalamuzi. So kati byonna bibagezaako kukola nti is just higher levels of impunity nti semateeka era n'ekirala ekisingira ddala obukulu because ebisinga biri mu tteeka nti baagaziyiza nnyo kyebayita things that are belonging to the military or what we call military stores. So in this event ogenda kulaba nti actually nakyo kiri detrimental. I was reading somewhere online nga somebody is making an online banter n'agamba nti okusinziira ku bibalistinze wano ebidetermininga what we call military stores when tunulira kuba UPDF they are manufacturing things.
Yes.
But manufacturing I'm hearing they have soap, I'm hearing they have water, bayinda kati ne what?
Toothpaste.
Ne toothpaste.
And toothbrushes. Nalabi abana bazikommenta.
Olaga kati bankwata ne toothpaste or toothbrush kaliko UPDF are entirely going to be subject to military law.
It is not a military store.
Now that is the issue because you have widened the 7th schedule in that bill to include even things that are not supposed to be part of the military stores. So somebody will even be scared to purchase anything with the name UPDF.
Within the law, which ebimanyikiddwa nga military stores?
Within the law, let me look for the 7th schedule.
Kubanga wano bakwata abana ba NUP nti bakutte bambadde obukofiira.
Yes.
Obwefaananyiriza military stores. Ne babakwata ne baba trying mu koti y'amagye.
Yes.
Ne waliwo bana bambala camouflage nayo ne bagamba nti engoye zefaananyiza uniform y'amagye.
Yes.
Nayo ne ba trying bwa mu general court martial.
Yes, baina clause 7A mu amendment bill ngegamba what amounts to
military stores,
arms and ammunitions which are a monopoly of the defense forces.
Yes.
1 pistols, AK-47, those are all guns. Then they went further and they say uniforms. They give a tunic uniform, the ceremonial uniform, the kaunda suit. A Turkish uniform. A DPM with track in shirt, plain army greens for reserves, battle dress uniforms, combat uniforms, headgear, a headgear. Kati there is also footwear. Then they gave examples of pictures of the uniforms, the ceremonial and the likes. Then the father went and said headgear. The headgear, they said it includes side caps, baseball caps, hat caps, military helmets.
Baseball caps?
Yes, baseball caps.
They are also part of the UPDF.
Yes, bush hats, red military police overalls, grey Air Force for the Air Force. So almost anything you wear or in any color can be inferred to be part of the military stores. So it is becoming anything regarding the UPDF, you must be very, very far away from it. So in this regard, they are widening the jurisdiction to try anybody they feel that they can have before the military court martial. Secondly, ne baje establishing abajiteke ku levels eza court sendala nti you can only appeal to the court of appeal if your case started from the unit court martial. Whereas bagezezaako okulaba nti batereza issue ya qualification. Yes. However, that does not solve the issue of the separation of powers. It does not solve the issue of impartiality and the right to fair hearing, which is non-derogable. You cannot claim that the people that are accusing you are the ones that are choosing the person to prosecute you.
No muntu yali ebuuziza because I was hearing MPOM ngagamba nti ye asembe kyaba civilian kubanga batrahingibwa mu general court martial rensonga nti ye yagambye nti abantu abakattibwa mu constituency ye the biggest number battiddwa ba civilians nti they are civilians with firearms. So nagamba nti singa omuntu oyo wabulijja bakwatiddwa n'ekisi ye atryingibwe mu general court martial.
Nanti ekisi kya kikaaki kuba waliyo abantu abamu balina licensed pistols nga they are governed by the Firearms Act. Secondly, or you are disempowering the actual courts, the actual civilian courts. Natural MPO alitegeera the purpose of the civilian courts nga maze genda mu court martial nga maze obagenda ko mu civilian courts. Kubanga the issue is kyageza kugamba that civilian courts tezina abantu bezi convictings nga ba committing such offenses.
Tulinayo Jamiru Mukulu.
Yes. No, Jamiru Mukulu is an exception, but there are other Ugandans that have committed crimes in their areas and they have been convicted rightfully by the civilian courts. And these are the competent courts to try people that have committed grievous offenses.
Kati mwenga abali mkugoberere ebbago lino. Bichi, what are your recommendations? Bye mwagala bibere excluded, nebe bye mwagala bibere included.
Our position is very simple. That Article 92 is very clear. You cannot make a law that is trying to circumvent, divert, or make an overhaul of the Supreme Court decisions. Okay. So, this act, this bill is trying to do so. It's trying to change what has already been determined by the Supreme Court, that it is not permissible to try civilians in the General Court Martial. The General Court Martial is a disciplinary unit for armed officers. If I do not subscribe, if I do not agree to be part of the armed forces of Uganda.
Even
if I have, for instance, they have said even military drills. I've read it somewhere that somebody can be subject to military law if they participate in military drills. So, I would need an interpretation. Because those may be military drills, because they say that if you are in the training or you are having military drills, are they saying that those that have actually enlisted to be trained as armed officers, or even these people that are to the community that mimic?
Kubanga Supreme Court bwe yavaayo newa ensala yaayo Bannauganda basinga basanyuka. Era ne tugamba nti kituufu ba legalizing General Court Martial ebeere court kubanga aba lawyers abali bajimira nga bagamba this is a tribunal era bannange waneeno ze sinamenti kubeera one, this is a tribunal. So kakati bavuddeyo bagamba yes, your recommendation is we are trying to regularize efuke competent court gye musobola okujjamu ne muwolereza abantu bammwe. Kati tutandise okufuna ngamba ekyo kite twagala.
Nanti tukuzaayo mabega nti Supreme Court yagamba nti any human being, that tribunal, the way it is constituted, it is not worth to try any human being. However, it is a court established to try military. Era senga titwandibadde na issue na court martial webanga egenda ku trying officers, military officers. But however, ngaba following the due process, ngaba following the right to fair hearing, ngaba following the recommendations of the Supreme Court that never banga agenda trying armed officers, eno kubeera impartial. There must be the semblance of impartiality in that court. There must be the following of the due process. Because olini wabeera munnamagye tekimujjaako ddembirira mu ssemateeka kubeera na fair hearing. Tekimujjaako the element of tekijjawo element ya separation of powers. So kyetugezaako okugamba ne wano nti ekisooka bajje ba civilian mu tooku ya court martial. Ne bwabanga baagala kutwalayo ba armed officers balina okubatwala before competent judges.
Abalondeddwa Judicial Service Commission
that have a security of tenure.
So kusinzira kugwe ne banno abalala nga bwe muwakanya biiro eno mugamba nti yadde omuntu civilian ne bwabanga asangiddwa n'ekisi kugeza nga pistol or AK-47 ta trying by General Court Martial, the fact that he is a civilian, he or she is a civilian.
Yes. Era the only civilian, because even what we are saying military stores, it is because you ogana, for instance, wotunulia world over the arms that are being some of the arms, yes. Season now, some of the arms that are being enlisted to be part of military stores, you'll find that these are guns that actually some civilians under the Firearms Act are licensed to have.
Nti asobola okugenda wali n'agyegulira nafuna license.
Muteeka. So, n'ekirala, the civilian courts are very, very much competent to try any offense. The High Court has unlimited jurisdiction to try any offense. Therefore, why do you take civilians in the court martial? The only civilian that can be arraigned in the court martial for aiding and abetting, because nyinza okwiza nti wayambako bannamagye okukoza omusango. That is understandable. Ne civilian asangibwa n'emmundu ngazizo omusango
gw'emmundu
nga civilian.
Lwaki tatulwaningibwa mu kooti y'emmundu?
That is what I'm trying to discern. Nti there are certain guys that are not a monopoly.
Because waliwo abalegginga nga bagamba nti bwe banaabawa leeway eyo nti omuntu olw'okuba oli civilian ojja kukozesa emmundu yo nga bw'oyagala because togenda kubanga otryingibwa mu general court martial.
Nati banga agamba nti civilian akozeseza emmundu talina teeka limuvunaana mu civilian courts we liri.
Because people bakkiriza mbu mu civilian courts eri enguzi, so people don't get justice eyo.
No, enguzi mu civilian courts nobody has ever proven that. N'ekirala obutali bwenkanya no obutali bumalirivu obuli mu general court martial bumanyirivu bwe balina okulaba nti really ono azizo omusango ingredients z'omusango zezino avunaanibwa bwati alina kwebuzaako bwati era tulinamu wakiwunize bwekiti tebabulina aba court martial nga weebadde eri constituted. Kakati ate oyagala otwale abantu olw'okubanga otaddewo nti mu court martial teri nguzi, however ne teri competence esobola okugaa nti omuntu ono ddala omusango yaguzza oba teyaguzza.
They are trying to make it a competent court.
Trying to make it a competent court does not also override the competence of the already existing courts. Secondly, really okyogedde bulungi nti why do they want to create another court for Ugandans? Because by saying that you are trying Ugandans that are subject to military law of any offense that is provided for in the law, that means you are rendering the other ones
incompetent.
No, not incompetent, that they are useless. So you will find that because you want to claim that the only court that does not involve itself in corruption, which I don't agree with, is the court martial. Therefore, all of us should be abhorrently arraigned there, regardless of their flaws and their levels of incompetence. No. We should follow the constitution as it is. Any Ugandan that is found with a gun, any Ugandan that is not subject to military law, that is found with a gun, they are tried under the Firearms Act in the civilian courts. So you mean the civilian courts are having different jails from those of the court martial?
No, they are the same jails.
Yes. Therefore, let the people that accept consciously to be in the military, those that have been conscripted in the military, be tried.
But Uganda yali ewuuzizza lwaki muwakanya nnyo ekyaba civilian naddala bano be baba basanze ne military stores okubanga batryingibwa mu general court martial luli mwakilaiminga nga mugamba nti it is not a competent court okubanga batryinga abantu. Now they are trying to legalize and give it the competence emala okubanga batryinga abantu bano be basanze ne military stores.
Yes, the competence can be cured. The issue of impartiality, the issue of the justification is missing. Second, the question is how impartial, how independent will those judges that are being appointed by the High Command for 3 years.
Bana abalamuzi abatuula ku Judicial Service Commission n'abalonda.
They are appointed, they are recommended, they are appointed by the President on recommendation of the Judicial Service Commission. However, that recommendation is not subject to debate. Are you getting what I'm saying? The recommendation is subject to approval by, and it is the law. The President is given the names to approve. That role he must perform.
Who recommends?
It is the Judicial Service Commission. So you cannot say that now the Judicial Service Commission give us a list of 30 names for us we choose. No. The Judicial Service Commission will give you 10 names to be appointed as judges. You cannot cherry pick that I will only choose 2.
Because what I'm trying to understand
secondly, the issue is, it is in the constitution that the president shall appoint judges.
Yes.
Now you are in this law, they are saying that the high command are you putting now the high command at the level of the president?
Because it is the president who heads the high command.
No, the high command actually in the amendments it is something different now.
Now who heads the high command in the amendments? Chief of Defense Forces.
Yes. They are separating the armed forces from the presidency.
Okay, so at Chief of Defense Forces, you're heading a high command.
So the question is, you are trying to put, why you just say subject to, you remove the thing of the high command, because the high command is more than one person.
High command yetula kabantu pamwe yetula kabantu basatu. Basatu kubata.
I would be lying if I tell you that I know the number of people that sit on the high command, but it is not one person.
Yes.
Secondly, the constitution says it is the president, not the high command. Even if the president sits in the high command, the issue is it is the president to appoint.
Yes.
So anything called a judge,
through his position as the president.
No, you see, had the framers of the constitution wanted any other person, any other body to do so, they would have done it. So anybody appointed a judge anywhere,
it should be the president.
It should be the president.
So kati olw'ensonga nti high command yegenda okubanga eronda abalamuzi bano bayinza okuba.
It goes back to the question that are they independent?
But even these ones that we have in civil courts, they are not as
because
independent.
They are independent because upon being appointed as a judge, they have a certificate of tenure. You cannot now be called that appointment. Here they are saying that the high command shall appoint a judge for 3 years. Which is actually contrary to even the Judicial Service Commission studying orders. A judge must have a certificate of tenure that even if I refuse to do ABCD, I will be a judge. I will be a judge. Not saying that I will be serving for 3 years, then they appraise my performance for further reappointment. No.
Nenza ngamba abantu babatekeko obudde terms.
You see certain offices and the framers of the constitution are right that if somebody is the, let me say, the justice of the Supreme Court, upon being appointed, you no longer have subject or control by that person.
So what is the problem okuwa nti Sadat ngenda kuwa 3 years?
You will be working for a promotion. You will be working for promotion, not for the interest of justice.
Then now the problem is you as a person, not
the problem is in the law.
The
problem is in the law because the person that has chosen you is the appointing authority. So you will always do things to please the appointing authority so that you are reappointed. The issue is the moment you are elected a judge, sorry, you are appointed as a judge, it is enough for you to perform your duties as a judge. The issue is there should not be a limit, a certificate of tenure. That is what the Supreme Court was saying, that a certificate of tenure, you become a judge until you retire. Not until somebody says, no, I want some other person. No.
There's a that in the Okana now. What babateke kote. Tugenda ku nsonga ya professionalism. Kote ensukulumu yagamba nti abantu ababatuula bagita committee of the 7 people basalirawo emisanga badenga batuula mu court martial nti balina okubanga basoma amateeka ne bagakuguka. Is it stated anywhere in the amendment?
Yes, in the amendment they have tried to do so. That to lead the unit court martial, you must have a degree in law and diploma in legal practice. To be, is it the court martial, division court martial, you must be an advocate. Yes, to be the general court martial, you must be a judge. However, that is not only what the issue of professionalism, but secondly, you must be a military what?
A military officer.
A military officer.
Yes.
Remember, and you should understand that the Supreme Court was saying that military officers work by command.
kati awaba takyakola nga military office aba kati akola nga judge
because you are military, then they should
court.
resign. That is it. Then they should be
Resign,
retired from the military, because if you are still a military officer, an officer above your rank should and must give you orders which you must obey. So you cannot say that I'm a member of the armed forces but I'm a judge.
You either retire and become a judge.
And secondly, you cannot hold two positions. You cannot in the public service. You are a judge at the same time
you are a military officer. You are a general.
You see? Cannot hold two positions. So you should relinquish one. But the position is very clear. Whoever wants to be a judge wants
but
to
then there wasn't started more recommendations ezakolebwa kote zukulu.
But you are reading I don't know which judge you are reading, which justice of the Supreme Court's decision you are reading, but if you read all the judges' decisions, you realize that the issue of competence was properly circumvented. The issue of military men purporting to be judges or purporting to operate a court was canvassed and totally concluded. Yes, you want to be a judge. Leave the military. Secondly, you must be qualified.
Kati qualification bakikutteko.
Yes.
Bakiterezeza.
Yes, and because they are trying to cherry pick what they
can offer.
What they can offer, but that's not what the decision says. They must follow it to the letter if they want to. If they want to bring back this court martial, the professionalism they are talking about is not about anything or any person that is having a degree in law and a diploma in legal practice. That person must be independent, having a certificate of tenure, having the experience to be a judge, and secondly, must be from the Judicial Service Commission. So you mean you are a member of the armed forces, earning from the armed forces, and also a member of the Judicial Service Commission.
Positions of okutesa tunga zona za public service.
So that is what this law I am very optimistic.
But then one wonders, ani apika ebago lino kubanga litambulira ku speed eriwo kubanga twalaba ne speaker ku ngeri gyayogera mu ngolaba nti ali agamba bulina okubanga mulieke ne nyalimalizi liyisibwe ngolutula luno terunangwa.
Anti ekyo kituzayo ku Bannauganda. Tubagamba nti sawa ya kulonda kulembeze abalimu omuzinzi tulooza ku sente. Kati essaawa wetagira abakulembeze okulwanira obeerayo n'abatono mu parliament. Yes, ekibiina ekifuga kiri mu buyinza kiraba nti kyo kyandyetaaza okutwala abacivilian mu court martial.
With what interests?
Era interests ziri further to entrench themselves in power. Nothing much, because you will find that civilians abasinzo okugenda mu court martial biba civilians abasubscribing political parties ezi opposing government. So it is used also as a political tool to entrench themselves in power. So naye ate otunulira resistance esobola okuteekebwawo on the floor of parliament ebeera ntono olw'ensonga nti they are determined to entrench themselves in power. The issue is how are we consolidating and entrenching ourselves in power. Whoever is trying to challenge our authority to mutwale mu court zetulinako ki control ensonga lwaki bakuba nnyo civilian courts balowooza nti civilian courts osobola okufunayo semblance of obwenkanya yadde nayo waliyo butono naye osobola okufuna semblance, at least waliyo due process, at least bajja kufollowing etteeka either bakurightly convicting oba bamenye etteeka n'ekirala oyina different levels of appeal that you must exhaust. Unlike in this situation nti bakugamba nti the decision of the chairperson of the unit disciplinary the unit court martial shall be final on the law and procedure.
Teri wakanyizibwa. Decision yete wakanizibwa.
Yes. Kyekikuzzaayo eri omukiza kyagamba nti really you have convicted me, you have not heard from me, but because etteeka likugamba that your decision
is final.
Therefore you can pass even an arbitrary sentence. Ebyo bituchallenginga, ebyo bitalina kubeera yensonga lwaki bakugamba nti competence tati bagirina.
Olunaku lw'eggulo nabadde ndaba omukulu Attorney General Kiryo Wakiwanika ng'agamba nti mu kusalawo kwa kooti ensukkulumu teyina we yayogerera nti no ba civilian tebalina kutwayingibwa general court masho yabadde akisimbako essira yabadde mu committee gye babadde basindise ebbago lino.
Well, the Land Attorney General simanyi kwa besinga gundi ye argument ye. However, kinasoma mu decisions or judgment z'abalamuzi kyali very clear nti court martial court but it is a disciplinary committee for armed officers. Any human being cannot be tried or cannot receive a right to fair hearing in the court martial as it was constituted.
As it was then.
Yes. And in that situation, any human being, even talk of military officers. Second, wakugamba that civilians are not subject to military law apart from exceptional circumstances. Civilians are not subject to
military law.
Exceptional
circumstances,
there are two. Aiding and abetting military officers, being in conspiracy with military officers, being in possession of
firearms.
Ammunitions or things that are a monopoly of the armed forces.
Yes.
However, those are the three exceptional circumstances. They tried out to enlarge the exceptional circumstances, but bingi to encompass almost even anything that you can do as any civilian.
Might fall under military stores.
Yes. Any kafira can be camouflage.
Nti engatto zino ze mwambala empanvu bweziti bajja kugamba ngatto za military. It is a monopoly of military stores.
Yes. So those are the only exceptional circumstances. So I don't agree with the Attorney General. Yes, only in exceptional circumstances. Therefore, the decision was very clear. Civilians should not be tried in the court martial, or they are not subject to military law, except in exceptional circumstances.
Okay, Mumbera bweti nti bill eri mu committee. What is expected of our members of parliament now?
It is to debate the bill clause by clause, to see that some clauses are dropped. However, the speed upon which it is being trafficked is not actually being debated. They may not have significant impact in changing anything. Secondly, I don't know, because every bill in Parliament has to have what we call an element of public participation.
Yes.
The public must participate and give their views on how they find the bill. However, they are inviting the public overnight to give their views, to participate in this bill. How can you invite a political party to come and give views and come with a prepared presentation of 20 pages in the morning of the day you want them to come to attend and make a presentation at Parliament?
Oh, so they call you lero lwakuna nti tukwetaga lero?
They deliver a letter that they delivered the letter yesterday. They delivered it on the 13th in the evening or in the morning of the 14th, calling you on the 14th. To come and publicly participate and give your views and opinions on. It shows the spirit and the bad faith they are trafficking this bill to be passed. They want to pass it by hook or crook. However, it may not pass the legitimate test, because actually, if they read the case of Ly'Amabye, public participation is key in passing legislations. So I don't know if they just all want to always be in court, but we shall see when the right time comes.
Okubanga nekyokugamba nti they want always to be in court era kiba bakiyisa kiba kyayita kayagamba twesange mu court.
But it's short down. Why do you always do things you clearly see that they are going to be challenged and they are going to fail in court? You are wasting taxpayers' money and the time of Ugandans.
Okay, nja kubanga mbebaza mwe abatambudde naffe okuva lwe twatandikidde show yaffe ku ssaawa 2 ate paka ne tugenda okubanga ate tugiwunzikira. Tubadde twogera nsonga z'amateeka, nsonga za byabufuzi, nsonga za kubeera nga tweteekerateekera akalulu. Omukulu obwedda annyonnyola bulungi nnyo n'akiikatiriza nti abalamuzi abagenda okubanga balondebwa high command okubanga batuula ku komiti wanene okusala emisango tebagenda kubeera nga balambulukufu, bajja kubeera impasho kubanga bajja kuba ne pate basavinga nti ate baba wadde terms nti nja kulonda for 3 years kati you are subject to renewal wakoze bulungi tewakoze bulungi me what I find okay ye agamba nti nedda ekyo tekiri okay kijja kuleetera okuba nti ate abalamuzi tebakola mirimu gyabwe mu butuufu bwajja kubanga bajja kuba ne party gye beegula so bajja kubanga basala emisango to appease a certain party kakati ago baleme okulaba nga ate ba offeringa justice eri abantu abo gwe munanga atambudde naffe njagala okwebaza ennyo kuba nti otambudde naffe okuva wali etutandikidde mpaka tugenda obunzikira show yaffe mane njagala okusitinga example ey'omulamuzi omu ejinji eyo omukyalo ono yamenya record y'okubanga ate yadealinga ku misango mingi nnyo in a year ne bamusiima unfortunately for her to
yes kati that is the issue of the charity of tenure. The judge she's an acting judge.
Yes,
however nekyo nakyo kyachalengibwa mu kooti nti judge anokubanga yetengeredde nga manyi bulungi nti ndi mulamuzi ekidago kyonna ndyuki
ndi mulamuzi kati abagenda okubuuliza
naye kakati okubeera acting capacity nga bajja kuwa praising abalaba okoze otya oba okoze bulungi oba bubi tetukwongerayo kireetera abantu okukola obubi so that basigalawo
act of service
kakati ono omulamuzi gwe twogerako ya dispensing of emisango gye ayisiza judgment n'okuba nti mulimu abali tebali happy.
We don't do that here. Tetukola misango mingi bwejitu.
So no sechuka ne judgment yali akoze zimu nga zikuba abamu abeeyita abanene nibamuteekako akasango nibagana okukola ki okuma approvinga nga judge. Ebyo byetugola ki byetugamba in the independence of a judge. Tosobola kunga nti okolera emyaka 3 takimizo ojja kuba okolera mutisi batizwa kubanga emyaka 3 ogigwako kyekiddako.
Ojja kwagala ba renewing contract yo.
Therefore that means natural oli w'amagye olina following order ajaga bakuwa order convicting ono bakuwa order convicting ono ogaana.
Akatalekeka kobo tugambayo.
Yes, akatalekeka nti nga Alliance for National Transformation wetuli era sabana Uganda batuwama tuisawa yeyo eyokulaba nga tulonda obukulembeze obuli credible obuli value based.
Muleta presidential candidate.
Presidential candidate tujja kumusalawo tetugenda kutula ku TV tugenda tulese ba members b'ekibiina bajja kutuula abalina obusobozi baveeyo basabe obukulembeze era muba sofa gye bali abaagala era abeegwanyiza okuba nga
bakwatira ekibiina bendera siko ekyo kyokka ekifo ne ku bifo ebirala eby'omu kibiina so system yaffe ng'ejja okulamu ebintu gye tukolamu ebintu muzize mugitegeera si Robert Sure but ya kubeera very critical and not making noise before action. You make an action and the noise will come thereafter. So see Robert Sure but we are saying Ugandans that tugenda kwesimbawo era mutuwama tu n'obwesige bwammwe so bakikira before byonna ebyobukulembeze. Message to the youth.
Yes, abavubuka, I tell them that whatever you are engaged in economically, socially or politically, please continue doing that. However, do not fail to create time to discuss or to participate in issues of governance in this country. Nobody will give you an opportunity to represent or to be the leader of tomorrow unless you start today by exhibiting those characters. Yeah. Therefore, you should participate in all decision-making processes, in all areas where you find that there is influence. Please occupy and take a front seat and be active in all those positions. You should be courteous, respectful, and you should have values as any human being in our cultures must have. I wish that Ugandans understand that the youth are the bedrock of this country, and the more the youth become enlightened, the more we find that we have better services, we have better innovations and creations and innovations. So youth, you are the bedrock of this nation. Therefore, continue to fight, continue to be that you aspire to be.
Your parting shots to everyone.
Yes, I would like to thank the Alternative Digital for hosting me today, and also to inform them that we as individuals and as a person, as Sadat Maseruka, yes, I will be making political decisions anytime from now. Yes, which decisions?
I was about to ask you. Are you eyeing any position?
Which decisions? Which decisions that the Alternative Digital could be one of the first media houses to know if the right time comes. However, we are in the political season, and you don't be surprised when political animals make decisions. It is not decisions that are creating disunity. The decisions that they are actually realignments. Nga olaba mu mupiira nti season wetuuka nga bagula abasambi oba abasambi bakyusa team. Now in politics people disagree, but that does not take away the common goal of fighting for change in this country. So we shall, as the NT, make our pronouncements, and they shall reach you through such media platforms.
Okay, thank you so much. Wabali kubanga otwegaseko olunaku lwa leero nammwe abatambudde naffe. Thank you so much. Tusuubira nti ogyemu ekyokuyiga. Abamu ku ffe tulipira ebintu bye tutategedde. But when we bring people here, tubaleeta nababi simplifying such that you can also understand and engage in debates ku nsonga z'otegeera obulungi. Mubadde balabi balungi okuva wali we tutandikidde, ate munnaye paka ne tuwunzikidde show yaffe. Njagala okubaagaliza olunaku olungi, tusinkana olunaku olw'enkya, essaawa zigenda kubeera 2 ez'okumakya.
The Alternative Digital. Real issues, real talk.